are back, episode 5 of our startup series with Dr. Dan Dinowitz, as he is opening up his dream startup pediatric practice in Voorhees, New Jersey. We've been documenting the whole thing from the very beginning, and wow, we're already on episode 5, and time's been flying. We're going to talk about branding today, which I'm super stoked about, obviously, you know, when it comes to real estate and floor plans and some of the things that we've talked about in the previous episodes. I've learned so much. It's been really an enlightening experience, but this is something that, okay, it's like I have a good grasp and understanding of, so I'm excited about it. But before we hop into branding specifically, I want to catch up with Dan and his wife, Michelle, who's also making her first appearance here on the podcast. And Michelle, if you want to say hi to everybody.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Michelle is, you know, the guiding light for Dan and, you know, helping make all these, you know, important decisions. And so, you know, we're going to talk about what that relationship has been like and how they've collaborated together. But before we do, Dan, catch me up, man. What's been going on since we last talked, and anything new, exciting happening in your world as you're prepping for a summer opening?
Yeah, so we're about 3 months before opening, and we just had a really exciting weekend. Michelle and I and the kids, we went down to the office in South Jersey, and we got to see it for the first time all mapped out. The metal framing was up, all the blocking was up, so you can actually see the floor plan come to life. You can see all the rooms. We had a lot of fun. We did like a lot of trick videos that we call it, where we're like, you know, you'll see on our social media probably pretty soon. So that's been really exciting. And this week we got electricity going in, and then drywall coming up soon. So yeah.
So it's literally coming together. You know, you're seeing the structure, you're seeing it all, you know, coming to life, so to speak. What was that like going in and seeing, you know, just having the structure, you know, in place of what the layout's going to be like? Was it kind of a little bit of a surreal moment, not just seeing kind of like a blank slate?
Yeah, it was. Like I walked in there and I immediately started thinking about what it's going to be like when we open this summer. It's going to sound weird, but like I started to envision like who my front desk was going to be, like my receptionist, you know, my team who is going to be sitting right there to my right. And as I walk, you know, through the door into the clinical area, you know, my hygienists are going to be sitting right there. And I started like seeing it come to life. Maybe I'm drinking too much coffee. I don't know. Maybe I need to cut back on that, but it felt pretty real.
Michelle, you know, we heard the story 2 episodes ago about when you first saw the space and how it was like super hot outside, and you know there's all these different external factors, and how you kind of grounded Dan a little bit afterwards, like, hey, this was a really good space, you know that, right? I thought that was such a really neat story, because again, you know, there's a lot of emotions that go into this, and you could just have one off day and maybe pass up on an amazing space. But what's it been like in, you know, helping, you know, your husband through this process, and also being there as kind of like a, you know, level him out at times, I'm sure. What's been kind of, you know, that like being a spouse and opening a startup?
It's been a lot of fun, more fun than I could have anticipated. I found myself getting much more into it than I had ever imagined, because I am not a dentist at all. I just always was like, okay, interesting, when Dan would come home and talk to me about dentistry, and I didn't envision being a part of it, honestly. Really, I didn't. I thought, okay, I'll be there for support or whatever, and then we'll see what happens. And I kind of got hooked. I'm having a lot of fun helping make these decisions, hearing Dan talk about it, and just really enjoying the ride, actually, more than I ever imagined. So now I'm kind of in it. And that day going around and seeing all the places. And I remember I took a whole, in the really, really hot weather, I took a whole walk around and I videotaped the entire walk all around the parking lot for 5 minutes.
She got compliments from all the fine people at
yeah, apparently I took a good video. So anyway, it's been a lot of fun, and Dan and I talk about it all the time, and sometimes we agree on something, and sometimes there are moments, there are things where we'll have a little disagreement about it, not in a bad way, but it's interesting to bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah.
No, her opinion as a non-dentist has become so valuable because sometimes I'm stuck in that like tooth world and I'm thinking just about the clinical stuff, and I don't always see like the big picture. So she has definitely had like really good input and like a big influence on the style of the practice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point too, having like a non-dental, opinion and set of eyes on things, because your patients, aren't dentists, right? So it's, the kind of more of like what that consumer, and, she's very much in that target demographic too, as far as, a mom of young children. Yeah. So it just works out, perfectly. She's your own little like subset of,
like a focus group,
a split testing, right? Your audience of what they want. So that is a really good segue, though, into what we're talking about today, which was something that was so important to you, certainly, and really where our team at Crimson Media started to play a significant part, and that is branding and building the logo and just the colors and the overall aesthetic of the practice. I want to start at kind of the beginning of this whole process here, because, that is something that I feel like people, it's one of the first things you think of, right? It's like, what would I, name the practice? What would, our logo be like rough ideas. And so when did this start? When did the ideas start, coming up? And I would love to hear just how the both of you together really started to set the vision for what you were looking for in the brand, the logo, and so on.
I think if you go like really back, probably about a year and a half ago, maybe 18 months ago, just about when I took the Ideal Practices Blueprint course, I started a Google document about different practice names. And in my head, I wanted to, and we spoke about this in an earlier episode, but I had like a 50 different names of like fun things. And I looked at the other practices in the area, and nobody had the town name Voorhees Pediatric Dentistry. So naturally, we gravitated towards that because there's just so many benefits for having the town name in the practice.
I remember talking to you, Shane, about it, and I remember I said, "Oh, that's the way to go, right? If they have the town name, that's what we should do." And I remember you said, "Yeah, that would be good to do." So,
yeah, it was kind of like the obvious thing that you don't expect to be available, right?
Right.
And then you're just like, "Oh, wait a minute! Like,
it is available.
Voorhees Pediatric Dentistry is available." And then me putting my like search engine hat on, I'm like, this is, only if you like it, of course, we'll figure it out otherwise. But I thought that really worked out well. And were you surprised? Were you surprised that somebody didn't have that?
Yeah, no, very much so. And I'm learning more and more as time goes on that is an awesome name. Voorhees is actually the last name of one of the early governors of our great state of New Jersey. So it's pretty awesome name to have, in the business.
See, now you're finding out even more background of the city's
it's a great town.
Yeah,
it's a great town.
How about that? So when this process started, we started talking about we dialed the name in, and I feel like that happened relatively quickly, at least at the part that we got involved. But then it came to all right, the logo itself, and this is such a fun thing for startups is finding out what your practice is ultimately, it's the whole theme for everything moving forward. Your first impression is your logo. So when we got to that stage, did you have a specific idea that you were like, I know I want to lean into this, or was it an open slate? Like, share that with the audience, because I think that people sometimes get intimidated with that process because they're thinking they should have something dialed in 100%. And oftentimes you don't, but I would love to hear where you all were at when we started kind of getting ideas from you.
So we ultimately, the punchline is we ultimately did have a theme. I went into this being anti-theme because when I thought about themed offices, all that was coming to mind were like over the top things, like a Disney themed office, a Sesame Street themed office, just like things that were very, very specific for an age group. And in my practice, I wanted to be fun for a lot of different ages, for young, for infants, for young children, for teenagers, and we're treating up until age 22. But really, we're treating the whole family. We have the parents coming in, and we want them to feel like they're walking into a place that is comfortable and fun and cool and playful and modern. And so I was very open slate to just how the concept of the office was going to be, even without a theme. It was going to be, it was always going to be fun and playful. But then time marched on, and as I officially became a business owner, I started noticing things when I walked into businesses. A really cool design here, a really cool theme there. And I had two aha moments. One was I started following this wonderful pediatric dental office out in Utah, who is just really cool. They are actually kind of without a theme, but they just have a great vibe. Very fun and cool. They don't even wear scrubs in their office. It's like a very cool thing. And then the second aha moment was when I walked into this really great coffee shop up here in North Jersey, and it's actually airplane themed. And you walk in, and it's just got the coolest aesthetic, great light fixtures, really cool colors. And you walk into their main feature area, and everybody's sitting inside of what looks like an airplane fuselage. And they're having their coffee, having a croissant, and there's this beautiful mural above the airplane. So I saw this, and I was like, I really had a moment where I said, oh my God, this guy is doing it right. He's doing a theme while being cool, not being over the top. It's not in your face, but you know what's going on. And so I took all those things together and realized this makes a lot of sense for us, because my wife and I, we love traveling. We love, being on airplanes, getting to other places, other parts of the country, other parts of the world. And so naturally, being airplane themed, what came to mind. And we kind of distilled that even further. You want to talk about favorite plane?
Okay, well, what I wanted to say was also that when we were first thinking of the themes, and Dan really didn't want it to be cheesy or over the top, like he said, we thought about a lot of different things. But even before we went to that coffee shop, we had thought about something to do with travel. So we thought maybe could each room be a different theme of a different place, a different country, whatever. So we were that was always in the back of our heads, I think. Yeah. And so then when we saw the plain coffee shop, we realized, oh, actually we can do it in a little bit more of a subtle way, a nod to travel, but not the whole thing. Yeah. And what was the other thing you wanted me to talk about? Then there was something else.
Well, ultimately, we thought taking it a step further.
Oh, the paper plane.
That making part of the brand a paper plane, just because we love flying places, but paper planes are just also so cool and playful and fun.
And you're never too old to make a paper plane. You could be a kid, but you can be 60 and make a paper plane. Like, you never grow out of it.
And our son does like to make paper planes. There was a time where he was making Dan make him a paper plane every night at bedtime. And I will say also that this coffee shop that inspired us has paper planes as well. So we were inspired by them a lot.
Greatly,
we spoke to them. They've been really wonderful.
Yeah, the owner, John, is amazing. And I just have to say, I never knew how to make a proper paper plane up until after we decided this. Once we decided on the paper plane theme, I went on YouTube and watched a 10-year-old give a tutorial, and now I know. And so we're going to incorporate a lot of that into the practice.
Well, that's such a cool story behind it, and that's why I was happy that you shared that with the audience, because as we were going through these discussions, I remember you sending me the link to that address of that coffee shop, and when I looked at that, I was just right away, I was like, this is unique. Like, this is not something you see every day. And so when you had mentioned like some of the things that you and Michelle like to do and the traveling and all of that, it just felt like like all the worlds were colliding, perfectly for it. And then the paper plane, to your point, it gives it that still kind of playful vibe to it that, hey, we don't take ourselves, and maybe, don't let me put words in your mouth here, but we don't take ourselves too seriously, right? But I feel like that's the kind of vibe you're going for at the practice too, as, it's, you don't want to come in and feel like it's a super like stale, like, strict kind of environment, but more so of like, yes, we have all these proper protocols and we do exceptional dentistry, but we try to have fun when we're here. Maybe can you talk about how maybe the paper plane and just kind of the vibe of the office that you're going for, maybe how those two married together?
So when you think of paper plane, just think of your childhood, and I think that it's when families walk into the office and they notice the paper plane themed things, naturally it's just going to bring up conversation about, oh, why did you choose that? What is it? And then I can talk about what it means to my wife and I, and I just love talking about traveling and other countries and food and a lot of times my dental consultations end up being mostly about like, where did you what's your favorite place in town to have lunch? So ultimately, it's all going to end up back to food. So I don't even remember what we're talking about. So there's going to be a lot of elements of paper planes and travel themes throughout the office. And should we?
But also the element of fun, like Shane, you were asking about. There's going to be a lot of ways that patients can there's going to be interactive displays. There's going to be just tons of different unique ways for kids and adults to have fun. And I think one of the main things was we wanted it to feel kind of sleek. And Dan always said, he also had Pinterest board and always looking up different inspiration. And once we stayed in a hotel in Asbury Park, I guess it was last summer, and we were in there, and he said, "Oh my gosh, this is, I want my office to feel like this." And he realized that what he could finally kind of put his finger on it. What he wanted was something that was a cross between a boutique hotel and a children's museum.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun moment because it is this feeling of being sleek and cool and kind of sophisticated, but also just really fun. So, and for kids, obviously. So, but as you were saying, the demographic, it's not only for the little ones, it's also what are the parents going to feel when they go in. So you're thinking about so many people and not only appealing to the kids or only to the adults and my
team. Right. We're going to be in this space for many years, and I want my team to have fun and feel refreshed as they go through the day.
So it's been an interesting journey, actually, thinking about it now from the point of, the Pinterest boards and the Google Doc with all the names. And then, I want the theme to be this, but I don't want it to be too much of this. And then it felt very much like each step led us to the next thing. Mm-hmm. And then you pick up a piece of inspiration from somewhere we've been. And then, okay, this leads us to the next thing. And so that's when we wound up basically to you. And then to segue, I don't know if you're ready for that segue, but all of the logo and everything started getting picked up.
Well, and that's a beautiful thing about the brand that was built. It wasn't like just a, hey, let's throw it into, Chat GPT and just see what comes out, see if something sticks. Like, there's a story behind this. Like, this was an evolution in many ways of every little piece of it coming together. The realizations, the 2 aha moments that Dan, talks about, that makes it that much more special because it's something that you can relate to and is a part of you versus if it was just, hey, let's, throw some ideas, in an AI and see what sticks. It's like people have done that and it's a quick way to do, get a logo and all of this, but it's like, you'll never really feel truly connected to it and love it. Like, I feel like you all will love this forever because of the story behind it. And that's what makes it what it is, which, by the way, anybody watching this right now, like, you've seen the logo on their shirts, there. So if you're listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, you'll have to check out the link in the show notes here to go to his coming soon page where you can actually see this logo. And let's talk about that because this was such a fun project, I know, for us. And, let's talk a little bit about what that process looks like. So when Dan and Michelle came to us and said, hey, here's what we're wanting to do, airplane, paper plane, something along those lines. What we did is we came up with, 10, 12, somewhere in there, different concepts, wide variety of different fonts, different planes, and just sent a Google Drive folder over based off of our initial conversations and was kind of like, hey, let us know what kind of sticks out here. So I'm always curious to hear what that's like when you get a folder and you're like, all right, let's see if one of these are close or maybe none of them are close, but hopefully, we see something that resonates. What was that like the first time just seeing this mixture of different logos? Was it hard to narrow it down, or were there a couple like right away where you just felt like this is the direction, even if it wasn't finalized, this is the direction we want to go? What was that like?
So I remember the days leading up to the initial 10 concepts being revealed to us. A lot of like pressure, because up until this point we don't really have anything physical to lean on for the brand, and like the logo is the first thing you have, to be like, that is my office, and then we're going to build the rest of the brand from there. So I was like really nervous for the reveal, and when you showed us the first concepts, and Michelle was there, and we were looking at everything, you asked me which one stood out, and I didn't want to answer because I usually like to be methodical, but it turns out that the one that I said off the cuff stood out was the one that ultimately became the Voorhees Pediatric Dentistry logo. And it evolved just a little bit, but it, then we saw that, and then we, went to other temptations. There were other logos that you made, which also were fun. And we were trying to see how we can tweak this and tweak that and make that work. And we just kept coming back to this one. So, yeah.
I remember that I was at the camp store in Columbus Circle taking our son to the Paw Patrol exhibit. And I remember seeing that the folder came in, and I was walking around the store and I was so excited to look at everything. And to be honest, when I saw this one, I said, this is it. So I said, this is my favorite one. And
it was her.
Well, but one other thing that's been interesting about this whole process is then is trying to decide how much to involve other people in the decisions, showing family, showing friends, and really being selective about that, because it's like revealing your baby name before having the baby,
Which
right?
we're going through that right now, by the way, and we're not sharing any baby names with anybody for that for that reason, because we're a little nervous.
Come on, you can tell. But yeah, you don't, because you don't want to just be swayed. And to be honest, like everybody comes back with something different, and then you get even more confused. There have been other things in this process, and sometimes I'm tempted a lot to say, oh, let's just send it out to the family chat group. And then you just get, everybody says something different. Oh, I'm going to ask my neighbor. I'm going to ask this person. And then you don't really get anywhere, actually.
You send it out to the peanut gallery, and you get a lot of different...
So it doesn't, and there's no one right answer, but this, I will say, because for me, I think this, I'm going to call it blurple. I don't know. I'm a little bit colorblind, but since Dan and I were dating, I always say that my favorite color is bluish purple. Like, this is, I would say, my favorite color. And so when I saw, I don't know, I just loved it right from the start. I thought it had this exactly... Yeah, exactly what we were talking about being kind of sleek, but also fun and for kids, but not too much. And also the paper plane V and the rainbow. I just, I still remember seeing it and thinking, oh, this is the one I really like.
And I remember, like, too, with the, and talking to, like, the designers and everything, when we were just going through the paper plane, it was very much of like, oh, thank goodness there's a V in the name, because it just works out perfectly to make the V the airplane, right? Because we did some where it was not that. For the people, listening to this, we had some that, Voorhees was just spelled out, and like there's a paper plane kind of like going around it, and that was fun and that was cool. But it just, I feel like, worked out so perfectly that not only did the paper plane make the V in Voorhees, but that the fact that, Voorhees starts with the V, so it's the first thing in the entire logo that you see. It just flowed so well, and it was like, again, sometimes the planets all align, perfectly for what that was, and I feel like that's what happened.
No, one of the things that you and your team did unintentionally, and I know nobody's going to agree with me on this, is this really cool trail of the paper plane kind of flying. We were very clear. What was the phrase that you had about being? We didn't want to have a tooth involved in the logo. What was it?
Yeah, thinking beyond the tooth.
Yeah, we tried to think beyond the tooth, and because not every there's like 1,000,005 dental offices across the country that all have a molar in their logo. So we were very much trying not to do that. And I just thought that there was a really cool little Easter egg in it, where I thought that this trail almost resembled a biting cusp of a molar. But that's like only for like the dentists in the room watching this. Anyway.
So, and the funny thing about that too, Dan, is like, I'm sure like the designer, like after the fact, was like, because I'm, brought that up, of course, like, Dan, talked about like, oh, it kind of does like subtly look like a molar. They'd probably be like, yeah, I know, I did that on purpose. I don't know if you did, but it just happened to work out.
Yeah, but I actually remember even at the blueprint course with Ideal, I remember Stephen Trutter saying, oh, you don't have to have a tooth in your logo. Do you remember? Yeah. So, and we took that to heart.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing that
it's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say it's funny on that topic, because it's one of the first things like in our branding call that we ask, and if you all may remember it too, but we ask, do you want a tooth in the logo or no tooth? And it's usually a full one way or the other. There's usually no, I'm open to it. It's usually like, I do not want a tooth in the logo, or I somehow want a tooth in the logo. It's like, different strokes for different folks, totally, fine. But there's definitely strong opinions, either way.
And one of the other things I didn't expect to be so honed in on was like font. I was trying to think, what was the feeling I wanted to evoke with the logo, and there's a whole family, a whole slew of fonts. There's serif and sans serif, and one is more sharper and one is more round and more like childish, and we looked through a bunch of different fonts that you proposed, and I really like this one because it just has like a very modern aesthetic to it, and I don't know how to put that into words, but when all the listeners like see it, I think they'll know it when they see it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it came down to, was making this essentially a timeless logo, right? Where you never felt like it was too kiddie, because there was I believe a logo that we were looking at, and one of them that we kind of liked, but it had like a gradient type vibe to it, which is kind of starting to come back in, but it was more of like a thing in like the late 80s, early 90s, and then it went out for a long time. So that's something where it can kind of, go in and out of style, I guess. Whereas something like this, like you said, simple, timeless, but yet still have that play element from the paper plane. And I thought it was cool how even in the brand guide that, our team put together for the practice, in the brand guide, just for those of you who haven't done this before, goes through everything from like Dan had mentioned, the fonts that were used, so what fonts to use for other things that you may be doing or ordering, to the colors that are used and the specific like color codes. But one of the things I thought was cool was how we kind of mapped out the conceptual process of, this was like a paper plane plus the letter V plus a playful element equaled the airplane in like motion. And I guess that's kind of the second piece of this, was the brand guide and tweaking and toying with the colors. But what was that like for you to see not only the logo, but then the logo on different pieces of merchandise and things like that, so you could kind of see it come to life? Because I'm sure that's part of what you're wanting to make sure is like, all right, this looks great, I like it, but what will it look like on a business card or so on?
Yeah, the colors, seeing the colors that you proposed for the first time was kind of, it was kind of like a funny week, because I didn't think of a color palette as being 6 different colors. I thought it was going to be like blue and pink, like just 2 different things. And then you came to us with like a navy, a light blue, a pink, an orange, like a golden yellow, and like a teal. Yeah. And at first, like my eyes were adjusting to it, and I like, what can we do with this? And then I realized as I started kind of tinkering around with it and putting the logo on T-shirts, and now we're making hats and things like that, like, holy cow, it looks really good. And you don't have to use all the colors all at once is the other thing. Like, these colors all complement each other, so you can use 2 colors in one part of the office and 2 in another, and use them all or some of them in the mural that we're making,
which is awesome, by the way. I'm so excited for this.
Oh yes, me too. That it's interesting, because sometimes then you have to think about, okay, if you want a blue shirt, now what do you do with this color? And so then we have, different options. So you do always have to think about the background color, because we have a darker Voorhees color for the main one. So had to think about all of that. And then also the smaller logo, the
icon.
Yeah, the icon.
Yeah.
We just like that right away. I think you sent it to us and we were like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the icon is, for those listening, it's like it's a paper plate. So I wanted to have a standalone icon logo that wasn't the full thing, so that I could put it on like the side of the shirt or the back of the shirt. And it I just thought it was really cool what you brought to us. It almost looked like a, I don't know. It was just, I can see it being used in a lot of different places.
Yeah, for sure. And that was the cool thing, is like having that like little accent to it. And, there's, I don't know, like I always just think of, which I guess it's, kind of is the whole logo, but just like how Apple, for example, Apple is so simple. You can do so many different things with that. And I felt like that paper plane was very much that same thing where it told that story with, the V for the Voorhees, so it stands for the city you're in. It has the paper plane, which is it represents all things we talked about, travel, fun, has all the pops of color. And I don't know, just like it says a lot of things in one simple image. So maybe that was my personal favorite thing about it. And you mentioned it and teased it a little bit here, but this mural that, you all are working on right now. And let me tell you, like, when I say this is one of the more unique things that I have ever seen inside of a dental practice. And, it's not finalized or anything to my knowledge. I just, got to see some concepts, thanks to Dan. And this is something that I think the community and your patients are going to love. But talk a little bit more about that too, because that was a big piece of the thought process behind why you went with, this logo ultimately and this theme.
Yeah. So this, I have two artists who are working on what I'm calling the feature wall in my guest lounge. And one of the things I am most excited about and spending so many hours a week, trying to get just right is figuring out this airplane feature wall. So in the guest lounge, when you walk in, you're immediately going to see this airplane fuselage where it's going to feel like you're inside of all the good parts of an airplane. There's going to be like lots of leg room, really comfortable seats, and charging stations. And we're going to have these really cool seats that look just like airplane chairs. And behind it is an airplane fuselage. And above it is going to be this mural that we're constructing right now with another artist, Olga. And it's just got such a great feel about it. Michelle, I know you were like really wowed by it when you saw the concept. So I'm talking about
well, she's incredible. I love everything she does. We follow her on Instagram, and we just every time she posts something, I'm like, damn, look at this one, look at this one. Even not for us. And she even did one. Also, we found her through that coffee shop as well, and she's just has a really unique style. But as we were saying, she sent us a few concepts, and I was immediately drawn to one of them, and Dan was immediately drawn to a different one.
So we kind of married them two together.
Yeah, but that's...
So this time you didn't agree on the same one like you did the logo right away. I was going to say that never happens where the husband and wife agrees the same thing more than once, I don't think.
And what complicates it further is, so I have this other artist, Steve, who does these amazing 3D projects, and he's building the airplane. So we're having all these people, these wonderful people trying to coordinate and collaborate on a different vision. So, a couple of different opinions, but we really got it distilled into this really nice image now. So they're going to start, actually fabricating and, machining it soon.
Wow. Man, so was the mural always in the plans? Like when you, even before starting the logo and all of that, did you know, like, I want to do something different here and I want to have a mural in the practice? Like, was that always something? And was it the coffee shop that when you saw that there that inspired that decision too?
Yeah. Our visit to the coffee shop inspired it, because before then, when I thought of murals, I didn't really have something like that in mind. I was thinking of, I don't know, like kind of graffiti type of things, or just vignettes of people walking in a park.
If you've ever watched Parks and Recreation, there's
exactly what I was
like mural where they're like in a horse and buggy, and
and it'll be like all the faces of people in our family or something like that. It was a whole different spin on things, and it gives us like really cool modern retro look at the same time. And while many of this artist's murals have kind of like a overarching feel to it, each of her works are very unique, and so I'm really excited to have that. Yeah.
So does this go back to, and this is overall just a kind of a branding question, but when patients come in, the parents bring their child, whether they're 1 year old or 18-year-old, whatever kid, the mural and all of these little pieces here, what is kind of the I guess the impression, right, that you're wanting to give when people come in? What do you want people to feel? That's the best question. I love to ask people about that. It's like, what do you want people to feel when they are in the practice? Because I think this all relates to what we're talking about.
Well, as soon as they walk in the door, I know what I don't want them to feel. I don't want them to think, oh, here I am in a sterile dental office. It's going to be clean and sterile. No, but I want them to feel like it's that they walk in and they have this feeling where they just go, and they just take a deep breath and let it out. And, they are immediately greeted by a friendly, face at the front desk, and they can, take a seat, and their kids are, they're going to have fun. And also, they're just, enjoying all the design elements of the office, looking at the airplane, look at the kids having fun on it. There's going to be a play corner. I want people to also feel like it's a very Instagrammable space, if that makes sense. I with the mural and the airplane, and then a bunch of other fun things that we're going to have throughout the office, different LED neon signs. I want people to, feel like they want to take selfies and post it to their social media, and that all kind of like wraps into, some internal and external marketing ideas. But, I also want part of our design elements to be rotatable. Some things, within 2 or 3 years, maybe I want to just take that off the wall and change it and, make it feel new and refreshed. I want patients to feel like they are taken care of, that it is very well thought out, with them in mind and their kids in mind.
Michelle, anything to add just about that?
I think that we want them to feel, oh, this is a dental office. I haven't been in a dental office like this before. This feels cool. This feels hip and different than other places that I've been to, other doctors' offices. I mean, just I take my kids to the doctor, then nothing against the doctor's office, but when I go into there's nothing to write home about. It feels like a doctor's office, and that's not against them or anything, but we just wanted to have, especially because the kids being maybe a little bit afraid, and then seeing so much warmth when they come in, cool pictures and all sorts of things like that, just to get them feeling more comfortable and not feeling, oh, okay, I'm at the dentist now, and it has that smell and it has that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a signature.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a signature
scent. And
yeah, it's gonna smell like a boutique hotel.
Just that it feels warm.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing too that you mentioned about just and being an Instagrammable space, because that's important today, because the parents today are always on the phone taking pictures, so it's something that's cool for them to get the picture of their child in front of a certain spot in the practice, whether it's the mural y'all are working on or whatever the case is. But that helps build, from a marketing side of things, the word of mouth in the community and the buzz that's being created in the community. And we're going to talk more about this in future episodes, but you really want to show the community, especially in a startup practice, how we're different, how we're unique, and what it's going to be like when you bring your child to this practice. And I think all of that you were going through and planning, and the details, all the details that are going into the entire space, is ultimately marketing the practice and showing the difference that you all are, going to be providing there. So that's massive. And anybody who's thinking of a startup, everybody's got their own style, but be thinking about that is like, how does it represent you and the way that you want to be viewed in the community, because it's all marketing. As we're getting in kind of towards the end here, and of course, selfishly, I made the branding episode like the longest podcast episode because there's so many things I want to talk about with it. I'm trying to squeeze it in, but let me ask this, just a couple of real quick questions here. What has been, just from the logo to the murals to coming up with the concept, what's been the most fun so far about this part, the marketing, the branding? Like, what's just stood out to both of you so far as one of the most fun pieces of this journey so far in that?
Well, I realized, how much you can do with a logo. We just started going to the store to
Just started going.
we started going to this t-shirt printing company store, and
hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah,
exactly. And we went in to get t-shirts, and we realized like all this cool swag that like I really started getting excited about. And we're going to have a really great swag bag for our first 100 VIP patients. And I want to make, I realized the logo that you created with us and for us, it's so cool that people are going to want to wear it. The icon that we spoke about, which I think I'll show in a second, it just, you can put that on a hat. It doesn't scream dental office. It's just like, oh, that's cool. It's paper plane. That's playful. And I realized you can do something really unique with this logo that, you can put it on planes and mugs. And I did something with the logo that I don't think you've ever had a client ever do. All right. So this is for all the people who are watching on YouTube. I want to show you what I did here. All right.
Man. Breaking news here. Let's go. I cannot wait to see this.
All right. Here we go.
All right.
Hold it up. Hold it up.
Oh my. No.
I got my paper plane.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Can you see it?
That is fantastic.
Yeah? Yes.
So
Okay.
So
yeah, for the people listening, you just gotta explain what we just saw here, because this is freaking fantastic. And you're right, this is a first, and I love it.
So I went ahead today and I got a haircut at this really sick place, and I called the guy up a couple weeks in advance and I said, "Can you do designs in your haircuts?" And they said, "Well, yeah, we do lightning bolts and things like that." I'm like, "How about a paper plane?" And he's like, "Well, come on in, we can try it." And I'm like, "All right." So we went in, and I was greeted by all this awesome customer service, by the way. I felt very welcome, all the stuff we were talking about. Great internal marketing there. And they went ahead and they were able to shave the logo into the back of my head. And I love it. It came out really cool. Yeah.
But we have to hide it from our 5-year-old, because if he sees it, he's going to be wearing a hat around him until it grows out. Because because if he sees it, he's going to say that he wants it too, and it's going to be a whole thing, and we'll have to go out right that second and get it. So we're not doing that.
So here's what you got to do, Dan. First off, that's fantastic. Like I absolutely love that. And I remember when I was in like maybe first grade, second grade, it was, the mid 90s at the time, where I had like the Nike sign shaved into the back of my head. Like that was, a thing too. But I could totally see this. You got to find you a barber locally there who can just come in, and after the kids, get their work done, they have the option of getting the paper plate in, and just, hey, that's the best kind of ground marketing, really put our head into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll have a paper plane barber day. Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
That is amazing marketing. Now there's so many things like I want to just do, like, bravo. Like that is unique. I can't say, I've had anybody do that one before. So, but that is what you got to be thinking, always be marketing. And that's what you're doing with that. And hey, you know what? Maybe the son can get something done for the opening of the practice, Mom. Maybe we can do a special picture or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure. He can get it done. I'm cool with it.
She's a cool mom. I was gonna say.
Yeah, let him, whatever you want.
That was well worth the price there, and it's funny because I was actually, when we were starting to record this, I was gonna be like, "Damn, did you get a haircut? Like you're looking like cleaned up there on the sides and stuff." It's funny because, but I would have never known. I would have never known until you showed it. You turned around in the back. So everybody, check out the video on the YouTube video there, because that was too good if you were only listening here. As we wrap up, and it's hard to recover from that because that was good. So
I promise I'm not going to get a tattoo for the next episode.
Well, I was gonna say there's gonna be something there. You're gonna have to beat it, and tattoos probably next on the list. But as we are kind of wrapping this up and kind of heading into the next stages of everything with the practice, ordering swag and seeing the logo on the shirts that you're wearing in your head, right? Like the different stickers and things you'll all be doing. What's that like? Does it make it more real, I guess, is the question I'm trying to ask here, because for so long it's just this concept, right? Like the practice is this dream, and sure, you find the space, but the space is still being worked on and coming together. But when you see the logo and you see it on shirts and all of these different things, what's that like for both of you to see?
Yeah. We were so excited for the shirts to come in. When you're really, really excited to get something in the mail from Amazon or whatever you're getting it from, we were so excited to get these, and it was fun going to this elusive t-shirt store, and it was a mysterious place. No, it was.
We got to get them to sponsor the show.
Yeah, exactly. It was. It is becoming more real, and we realize we're not that far out, and for all the, like we talked about, all the steps along the way, this journey that one thing led us to the next, to the next, to the next, and it's to see it all start to come together, and all the pieces are starting to come together, and it's pretty special and exciting to see how everything works, from the mural to the logo and the swag and Dan's head and just everything. It's very exciting, and yeah, I'm sure you would agree.
Yep.
It's coming to life. It's the best way to put it. So as we wrap up this episode, all about branding, and we'll have more marketing episodes in the future. We'll be diving into talking about social media marketing and some of the awesome things that Dan's already been doing there, to some of the social media ads and things like that we're doing from our side of things. But before we dive into that in some of these future episodes, what are you looking forward to next, Dan? Like about 3 months out, like you said, from the opening here. What's kind of the big thing on your mind right now? What are you looking forward to? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Two big things. So in the next week, we're going to be speaking with my business advisor from my DL, Stacy Peters, who was on a recent episode about our A5G, which is going to be our 5 big strategies for marketing. And so we're going to be speaking about that over the next week. And then the other big thing is in 2 weeks, we're going down to the space in Voorhees to have the pre-drywall inspection with my contractor. And that is, after that is all done, then it is, full steam ahead. Then the drywall goes up. All the design elements can be put up. We get to start to get that airplane and the mural up sometime in May, hopefully. And I'm going to be beginning to hire. I already have some as some people reaching out to me about positions for the practice. So a lot to juggle right now, but it's all good.
It's an exciting time, man. It's the journey that's leading us here. All this is going to be, maybe it's going to fly by, as I'm sure it has for you all the last few months. And I remember Dan in the last few episodes mentioned, he learned there's more than 24 hours in a day. That was one of the things that he had mentioned. And, you're working hard towards building this dream, but it's really inspiring. And I know people listening to this who are considering doing this themselves and building their own startup, take a lot of inspiration from what you all are doing. It's a lot of fun just to see it all come together. And we'll definitely be, reconnecting after you've finalized some of the things with your advisor, Stacey Peters from Ideal Practices. Bring her back in, show kind of some of the details that go in behind the scenes of all of that. So definitely, some of our next episodes are going to be really diving deep into growth and kind of how we, grow a brand new practice and some of the neat things we do in our community, both from a ground marketing side of things and from an online marketing. So, me, I'm excited about that, marketing nerd. So I can't wait to dive in there. But Dan, Michelle, thank you so much, both of you, for being on here. Michelle, I'm sure we're going to have you back on several more episodes. So, get used to that. And we'll, we're excited to get an update here in a couple weeks on the next one. So keep up the great work, guys, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. Right, and thanks, Shane, for helping us have the vision come to life.
Absolutely.